Hi, I'm finally going to finish our first chapter in Brene Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, and the last section is on vulnerability. And so the definition is vulnerability is the emotion that we experience during times of uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. And she's done a lot of research on vulnerability itself. There's a quote that I think is very important in terms of our own perception of being vulnerable or taking a risk. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's our greatest measure of courage. And she says, we found that across cultures, most of us were raised to believe that being vulnerable is being weak. This sets up an unresolvable tension for most of us because we were also raised to be brave. There's no courage without vulnerability. Courage requires the willingness to lean into uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. In a world where perfectionism, pleasing, and proving are used as armor to protect our egos and our feelings, it takes a lot of courage to show up and be all in when we can't control the outcome. It also takes discipline and self-awareness to understand what to share and with whom. Vulnerability is not oversharing. It's sharing with people who have earned the right to hear our stories and our experiences. So I want you to think about today, when is there a time that you have felt you needed to be vulnerable or you noticed the benefits of being vulnerable? And also, sorry, my dog is eating something. Don't eat that. I don't know what that is. Recently, I've been pulling cards and sharing a little bit more openly on MWJ about my own personal stories and this idea of use your voice, shine bright. And so MWJ on Facebook is a private group, and yet at the same time, there's, I think, 66 members. Not everybody knows everybody. Not everybody knows my story. And so it is a choice that I am making in order to be vulnerable in this way. At the same time, I feel like it's important that we set ground rules. So when you sign into the group and are approved, you have to agree to the rules, right? And then as monitor, anytime that anything might happen within the group that is violation of those rules, I need to step in and kind of do something about that or remind us of those rules. That is an example of how we can be vulnerable, but with boundaries, how we can be vulnerable and share parts of our stories, because even though I'm sharing some of my life and my stories with you, I'm not sharing all the nitty-gritty details. And we use that discernment as well in our relationships. So some relationships we might feel like we can be really open and vulnerable, and some relationships we might only share a portion of ourselves and our stories. And there's reason for that, right? I mean, that was the last thing that I read. There's a part that says, it's sharing with people who have earned the right to hear our stories and our experiences. So just being very mindful about who we share with. And so a great art directive around this is, well, it's called different things, but sometimes it's like our constellation or our inner circle. So who is in your inner circle? Who do you feel like you can be vulnerable with? And then who do you feel like distance-wise are a little bit further outside of your circle? So I will try this and then come back and share you mine.
Relationship I've ever loved starts when someone says, show me where it hurts and give me something real and lead me to the part of you that never really heals, and say the words that burn when they leave your mouth. You tell me your story, but don't leave the good parts out, and tell me all about your failure.
Okay, so I created my inner circle, and I'm sure I'm missing some people, but I used symbols. So kind of like a genogram, which is a way to create relationships within family. Sometimes there are symbols that you use to represent different family members. But I didn't think about it. I was just kind of intuitively drawing symbols for different people. My sister and my sister-in-law are spirals, which are kind of like they're evolving. Those relationships are evolving. My friend Temple is like a ray of sunshine. My husband is a heart. So there are different symbols that just came to mind for me. I only really did the inner. I didn't do the middle and the outer. And I must say that when I started, like I gave you the prompt and then I got super vulnerable about doing this in front of everyone because it can feel really sensitive. Why am I not closer in relationship to you? There are reasons, right? Maybe it's just a difference in beliefs or life experiences, or how we give and get support, or the energy that we have to give to different relationships versus the energy that we receive back when we spend time with people. I might continue to add to it. I think I'll maybe move my way out to the outer, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you've made as well.